So xCloud beta is available on PC and iPhones, and it's been seeded with influencers and lots of other people and very, very lucky people. I don't think any of us have been invited. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, so I guess we should talk about the fact that they've done this differently from previous previews. So before you could sign up to be part of it, and then they would accept you or not. Indigo, I'm looking at you. That took them a long time.
Well, I never
let you
got
in.
the email to say that I got in.
I don't think I did
And
either, yeah.
this time,
Check now.
yeah, they've been proactive and sending out invites to people, so they're not letting people just like register interest for it. So it's an interesting approach, and yeah, that is definitely does not include myself, even though I'm part of. I guess maybe they also looked at people that are already using the service or have registered for, let's say, because I registered to use it on Android.
Yeah.
Maybe they've said, well, let's not bother including people that have done that. But
Maybe. I never thought about that. You're right. Yeah. Shit.
But I don't know how widespread it is. I think it's across 22 different countries that they're kind of doing these invites. So
yeah, and we should just say simplistically North America, Europe, South Korea, and I believe not Japan. So they're the ones that are in the 22 country. I had to look through it because Australia's not in there. So it's like a weird position that we're in, right? So Australia doesn't have xCloud, but if you ask for it, you pretty much will get it now.
So they say that there's apparently 100 titles that are available, right? That is way more than I can access on my preview program.
Like, yeah, because the preview, the preview is like nothing compared to what the full-blown American version is.
Yeah, but they're saying like does the preview not? Is that not kind of on the level of the beta?
No,
I mean, they're both.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right. Well, it's just like there's games that they've got that they're saying it's like, man, like
you want to play them.
Well, the thing is like there's some good games in the preview I've got, but it's like, man, like there's a lot more games that I'd use it more if there were more games on there. Let me just put it that way.
I have to say, this whole thing has become very Microsoft-y. You know,
Very
where Microsoft...
Very messy.
Yeah, like, this is the biggest problem I always have with Microsoft. Remember that time where I mentioned a game and said, oh, it's not available, and it was like the exact same title, but there was two different SKUs in the system? And like, one of them was available and one wasn't, but... Like, why were they not merged? It made no sense.
Well, that's because one is a version that has achievements and one doesn't. So it's kind of like, it's a bit weird that way. So they're kind of almost like two separate, versions.
But that's not my problem, right? Like, that's just...
I know, but that's just the technical explanation.
Yeah, I get... Yeah, but look, and you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Apple, but there is like something about simplicity here. And there's a lot of stuff where... I find it very confusing to understand even what games are on xCloud because it seems to be multiple lists now.
Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why when we do our bargain bin, we kind of include, highlights for Game Pass additions and removals. I don't mention anything about this stuff because it's so messy. Like, it might be available in one region but not another. And so basically, it's just like, I've just... like 10-foot pole. Just want to stay away from that stuff, you know. But.
Yeah, they need to very quickly get to a point where it's a bit like Netflix. Like, everyone understands that the Netflix libraries aren't the same around the world. But if I watch Netflix on my mobile versus on my Apple TV versus other, like on my desktop, it's the same content that I'm seeing in Netflix for me. It's not like, I'm looking on a mobile so I can only play these videos. Like, that's insanity. But it's kind of where we're at with a lot of the stuff with Microsoft, which is kind of, I don't know, it's very frustrating for me.
It's frustrating, but it's still a much bigger improvement over like the Games for Windows Live era. Stuff was
way worse.
Absolute nightmare. And like the Windows 8 store and all that stuff. It's better than that, but it's still got a long way to go.
And so I've heard people's impressions. Obviously, we have not been invited. At Microsoft AU, come on, get us on the program. But I have heard hands-on, and people said it works great. Like, it works, like Stadia and all these other services that are really good for what they're trying to do. So, yeah, I do not know how Stadia and Luna, the Amazon version of this, I don't know how they're going to survive. Like, how could they possibly survive against this?
Well, we've talked about it plenty, but
Yeah.
to me, this does make sense as an additional
Mm.
service on top of an existing platform, not a standalone. But hey, like 10 years' time, that could be the way that it is, and we all look stupid for doubting it, you know?
And the last thing I just wanted to raise, because I'm actually really excited about this to try it on PC, because there's a bunch of games I can't play because I'm only PC, Xbox, Game Pass Ultimate owner or subscriber. Have you noticed that? I don't know if you watched the video with Sarah Bond.
No.
Okay, so she also had a Switch on display in the background of her video, and so did Phil Spencer. And I'm like, E3, I do like to speculate. E3, Microsoft, Nintendo, both presenting at E3. I don't think Game Pass going on Switch makes any sense. But when you look at xCloud and Nintendo starting to go into cloud a little bit, there's a hell of a lot of games that will never get on the Switch, even with the Switch Pro. And then you have something like xCloud. What do you reckon the chances are that xCloud will go on the Switch?
That's tough. I think it's a safe bet that we'll get more Microsoft games on there, like your Banjos and maybe some more Rare stuff. But xCloud, it makes all the sense to me, but it also just seems so anti-Nintendo. Like, it just seems like that's not a thing that Nintendo would want on their platform. But I don't know. It would be fantastic. It'd be this, especially just if you didn't, I don't know if you'd have to pay an additional subscription fee or not. I'm sure you probably would have to. But
No, I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so.
Okay. If not, then yeah, I'd be pumped for it, because then essentially, especially if the cloud saves were shared, because then essentially I'll just pick up my Switch and then essentially just cloud save between my Xbox and the Switch would be amazing.
I mean, to lay it out quickly, it's such a unique situation because Microsoft has actually said, like Phil Spencer has actually said, he has zero interest in making a handheld, right? So I don't see that happening. Nintendo don't seem any interest to make a more powerful console. Like, even with the Switch Pro, they're not talking about making it be able to run even really like a Xbox One X game properly. And then you're in this weird position where, Nintendo are not great at the cloud stuff. Microsoft are great at it. Where, there's not that many games on the xCloud that then you could buy on the Switch anyway. So from a strategy point of view, I mean, like, it's actually perfectly positioned to happen. It's just Microsoft would be a yes. They're almost like guaranteed a yes. But it's what would it make sense for Nintendo to do the deal? And is it they want to kick back regardless of if people subscribe or not on their service is, I think, where it's all going to be the sticking point. But I think it would be amazing. Like, for me, I don't know why, and Mike, like, bring you into this, like, like you've got like devices to play, games, and like, you've got that crazy thing that you have. I can't remember the name of it for the iPad. But
this thing,
yeah. But if it was on the Switch,
the Game
if it was just like a, on your Switch, the app was called xCloud, jump into that, you can jump into any game that's on xCloud.
I'd use that instead for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. There's something about it that just like, I feel like I'm 50 times more likely to play games on it if it was on the Switch.
And I mean, I've never heard Phil's opinions on this, but if that's true, I would disagree with him. I think the Switch is a testament to the fact that handheld consoles are still absolutely a thing that people want.
I just think it's something that they're not really interested in playing in that space.
Because there must be a huge cost associated to that, and games for it, and the whole new platform, and it wouldn't be easy to set something like that up.
Yeah,
massive investment.
Can you imagine playing Forza with a non-analog trigger?
They would probably put. Oh yeah, actually, like if you had to play it on the Switch through xCloud, yeah, absolutely, that would suck. Wow. But if you had a dedicated Xbox console that was handheld that actually had analog triggers, that'd be awesome.
Oh, wait,
I'd love to play games like that.
How about this? The Zune Pro.
It's just not like
Zune 1X 360.
It's not their strategy, what they're trying to do, Microsoft. Like they want to push it to be like xCloud is like Netflix. Like I buy a TV and it had Netflix embedded in it. in the operating system. I was like, whoa, this is like weird. They want it to be like that. They want to have a button that has like Netflix and the other button says xCloud. And you just bang, click on that and you can play games and wirelessly connect to your TV. So I don't see them ever making a handheld underfill. Like it just to me makes zero sense. But
I just want them to just get consistent with your bloody naming across this stuff, because it's like Xbox Cloud Gaming, Xbox Game Streaming, xCloud. Just call it something and stick with it. I'm just
I loved how they said they've retired the xCloud name, and then when they launched it in Australia, they called it Project xCloud Preview. I'm like, what? I thought you retired that name. And then even when you look at like articles covering it, they still call it xCloud.
Well, the app on Android is Xbox Game Streaming, not Cloud Gaming or anything like that.
But then they've gone back to calling it Xbox Cloud Gaming.
Yeah, which is different from the app that's on Android. But I guess the app on Android is also for streaming your own console to it. So it's like a broader thing than cloud, but it's still confusing as all hell.
They should just call it xCloud and
just
move
stick
on.
with it.
Yeah, it's a shit name, but it's landed. So, look, I'm really looking forward to this. Hopefully, this year we'll be playing in earnest in Australia with all the titles, because I think I'll get a lot more use out of it then. And I've got my little thing that I covered last week, so I'll be using that for it. All right, let's jump into the next story. Over to you, Swinny.